Hello everyone, this is Hamza Mazhar Sheikh, and today we're with the next episode of Client Diaries. First of all, I would like to apologize. I'm late. I've not been sharing videos lately for the past, at least for the past 2 weeks. One of the reasons to that is that I was traveling, and it was a bit of both a business and pleasure trip. So it was kind of a business with holiday. That is one of the reasons. That is the only reason potentially I couldn't post videos. We've been working for our clients regardless, but I did not have the time and the luxury to share more videos. But nonetheless, I'm back and we'll continue our fiasco as we were doing before. So the first thing is that today's client diaries, and it's about a shopping mall here in Lahore, in Pakistan, and it's situated in a very big and very expensive area and one of the posh areas in Pakistan. And again, they're going through a lot of trouble. They were actually, and so they were suffering from lots of problems and lots of troubles, and ultimately they contacted us. They approached us and they did so by watching one of our videos, which is a big thing because this is one of the reasons I do all of this. They approached us, and it required a huge audit for them. It started with a consultation, and then we did an audit. The audit was very long. The research was very long because we had to know. It was imperative that we know that the owners know that what's the problem. Why aren't they able to sell more apartments? Why aren't they able to sell or rent more shops? And why isn't the foot traffic increasing? So the crux is that you see a shopping mall is entirely dependent on the kind of foot traffic that comes and visits the shopping mall, and obviously it depends on lots of factors. And it took a long research for us to actually know what the problem was. The biggest thing is that they understood. A lot of Pakistani businesses don't understand the value of time, and obviously, sometimes these processes, these researches, they take time, and they were with us from the beginning. And they were like, what, no matter what happens, Hamza, you and your team are supposed to solve this case. It felt like that we were detectives and solving a crime scene. So without further ado, I would start about this shopping mall. It's situated in DHA, and although we're not supposed to reveal lots of details, but I'm just telling because I need you people to know it is in an expensive area. They're not receiving lots of bookings for their apartments. There are not a lot of shops, and most of the shops are they're vacant. Not a lot of people are coming. Not a lot of businessmen are opting to buy those shops or even potentially rent those shops. So all the services and amenities are there, all the points of parity are there. There's absolutely no issue whatsoever. The place is neat and clean. It's convenient. It's comfortable. It is offering all the amenities. Even after all of this, why isn't that people are not booking apartments over here? Why the people are not renting or buying shops over here? So this was a big $1 million question, and this was something that we had to figure out. So starting with what actually happened, and after the first consultation our team visited, we audited, and there were lots of problems that we had to analyze. There were lots of small problems. There were lots of problems with the perception. There were lots of problems with what people think about the place and what the businessmen they think about the place, and the customers, the ones potentially want to buy new homes, what they think about this place. So overall, it was a lot that we had to figure out. And apart from this whole idea about foot traffics that I'll explain. And I was talking to my team and I said to them that we will make a detailed video regarding types of foot traffics, because this was a big concept for the management, although we knew it because we do this every day. But it was a big concept for the management. And the biggest thing is that we realized that not a lot of business owners analyze these kind of aspects when it comes to foot traffics in public areas, and places where you want to drive, you want people to come over. So this was the big thing. Starting on, the biggest idea was that the problems that we started was that I have analyzed all the problems, but the issue was that the pricing of the apartments was very high, considering the points of parity in a place like Lahore. If you're in Karachi, people are willing to pay a lot for apartments because it's expensive over there. But when it comes to real estate in Lahore, it is comparatively cheaper. And when people see that there are a lot of small houses available for sale in similar, potentially cheaper pricing, they would not opt for apartments. This is the first thing. The second thing is when you talk about the kind of the amenities that there's no electricity shortage, there's no water shortage, and they have all of their maintenance and lifts and elevators and escalators. So the biggest thing is that these kinds of things might not attract to people who are buying homes. This can attract to people who are willing to buy like a second home in a place like Lahore, but this would not attract a person who's willing to buy their primary home. So this is a big thing which they thought that it is adding value, although it is, but not to an extent to which they expected. So the next thing is that the area is premium. We get it. All the big brands are in the surroundings. All the big markets. It's DHA, obviously. DHA in Lahore. DHA, if it's anywhere in Pakistan, it's expensive. So, but the biggest thing is that, you know, they were charging too much for an apartment, which is a big thing. And at the same time, simultaneously, they were also charging very high prices for the shops. So when we interviewed, we conducted focus groups and interviews. So the biggest thing that we analyzed when it came to shop owners was that they didn't think that it would be easier for them to break even while selling retail products, fashion products specifically, and also bear the rent of the shop. So they weren't willing to buy. And the ones who were willing to buy, that's another story. I'll come to that in a moment. So the ones who wanted shops on rent, they said the rents are too damn expensive and they won't be able to manage all the expenses with the rent being this high. And at the same time, the biggest issue, it all came down, it was like a web to the foot traffics. This was one of the biggest reasons because they said that the foot traffic is not enough for them to generate supernatural profits. So this was one thing because we analyzed that because we were they didn't deliberately say it, but this was something that they were pointing to because they were like that. Okay, in seasonal days when Eid comes or something like that, then there are lots of foot traffic. But any given day, we do not expect people to come and buy watches from us, buy jewelry from us, buy towels from us, or bed sheets and bed linens from us, or buy potentially clothes from us. Even the bigger brands that are situated in that mall, they were also suffering. A lot of brands, I cannot name them, but it was a big issue for them because they were like, okay, we get it, we're a brand, people do come to us, but you do not find the potential prospect shoppers that are wandering here and there, and they would potentially make a purchase decision. So it all came down to the types of foot traffics because foot traffic is at the end of the day, and a lot of business, and specifically the shopping mall business, foot traffics are involved, and we analyzed the types of foot traffics, and it was. I'd say that it was very insightful for the owners, for the management, because this was something they weren't aware of this particular concept, which is bad and good. Bad is that they weren't aware, and good is that now they're aware because of us. Now, next, there was this whole idea about the digital presence. So this is something that this is something that I often stress upon. You need to have a customer support. If someone's willing to buy something from you, you need to answer their questions. You need to have a digital interface so that they can interact, they can set up an appointment, something like that. A lot of people that we interviewed in focus groups or individual interviews, they were the ones that they interacted with the management, and they said that we cannot get proper information while talking to people on the phone. So this was something that should have been done by a sales team representative, which I believe that wasn't. They did not have this particular position filled. It was like it's a phone number that moves around to the existing management and team, and the ones someone who has the phone is liable to answer. There's no particular person who's working on leads. There's no particular person whose job is to just sit and answer the client's questions or potential prospects' questions. But this is something that they should have worked upon, and they should have gotten more clients through that as well. Apart from this, they have been offering amazing services. So we have a swimming pool for the residents. We have a sauna, spa. gym, yoga, lots of things that are going on over in that shopping mall, that building, because the first five floors are the shopping mall, and above them are the apartment complex. So there's lots going on, and now normal people don't know that this place has a swimming pool. The ones who wanted to book apartment, they don't know that there's a gym. They just know that it's a good place to live. That's it. But at the end of the day, the pricing is too high. That was one of the big reasons, because there were better alternatives available. So that was one of the reasons that why people they weren't able to buy shops. They didn't want to buy shops. They didn't want to rent shops, because it all came down to the foot traffics. And I'll be talking about foot traffics now. Okay, so the first thing is that when we talk about shopping malls, the biggest thing is that it's a place of change for normal people, people who want to change. They have some time, three, potentially 4 or 5 hours to kill on a particular Sunday. uh, they would just get out of their homes. They would change their clothes and go to a place like shopping mall, because they know that they would find everything over there according to a particular family, and they would be entertained. They know that food courts are over there. They know that children's play areas are over there. They know that there are brand shops over there. They can buy new stuff. They know that grocery stores are over there as well, and they know that they could potentially have premium high-end dining food or normal food from the food court. So people know that no matter what happens, they would be accommodated. And if I talk about a place like Packages Mall, then I would say that people know that they can get their car serviced, they can get their car charged through electricity. So which is a big thing. There are a lot of things that accommodate a particular family or a group of people when they reach a shopping mall. But in this particular case, you know, there was this certain uncertainty, there was this certain idea of no or slash, you know, decapitated accommodation, because people just did not, it was just not their go-to place. So the mall was incomplete in every single segment. So if we talk about the food court is not complete. There are not a lot of options. There are not a lot of brands present over there, which is a big thing, because if there's no foot traffic, then no brands would come. But no brands would come if there is no foot traffic. So it is a recursive action that takes place, and it is all about a brand looking at the management's effort to drive in more foot traffic. So I'm a new person starting a new business, and I know that there's a new shopping mall. I would like to rent or potentially rent a shop over there, but I know that this is a new place. So I know that it would take some time for people to reach and come to this place and receive awareness about this place. But when I see that the management is not as dedicated to driving foot traffic over here, I would not rent this place, because it's a big risk for me. I know that certain brands have this power to function all by themselves, but I'm a startup, so I would not go over there. At the same time, a lot of big brands have shifted most of their business online. So, the brands and the shops, the physical stores are just one of the reasons they would use to gather in more customers, to build in more trust and become more trustworthy as a business as a whole. But when it comes to them opening outlets in new markets, there's this whole idea about market cap and the area distribution. So if they have a certain shop in that particular radius, they would not, create or buy or rent a new shop in that particular area in a particular mall. So if they have a main outlet right next to the roadside, they would never do that particular thing on the, in the shopping mall itself. So analyzing the area surrounding that, around 500 meters from that shopping mall is a commercial area complex, which has a lot of vacant shops. That tells us about the scope and the potential of commercial areas and foot traffics and businesses in that particular area as a whole. We know that when commercial shops on the main road are vacant, they are empty, then it would be a lot bigger effort required for a shopping mall to fill its own shops that are inside the mall. And Apart from that, given this the idea that the pricing is very high, it is very unlikely for them to fill in more shops, give it on rent, or potentially sell them. It's their choice. But if there's no customer coming, then we know that there's something's wrong. Apart from this, you see this price disparity, this investment disparity is one of the big reasons that we say that not all commercial areas are successful. If a commercial area close to this, a big commercial area close to this mall is not, it's not doing good business, it's just going normal, then we know, as I mentioned before, that this shopping mall has to do more, it has to do more effort, which comes down to the idea of giving startups a chance. You see, startups are small businesses. They require space. Why don't you give them chance? We have seen stalls over there, and when we analyze, the research, when we were conducting focus groups to customers, we analyzed most of them said that they had their first experience. They would not like to come again because the stall owners weren't selling good food. And apart from that, the food court only has one good restaurant, and the others are not doing a good job. This was something that should have been put, there should have been more effort placed into this, because mall management should, I don't know, be desperate about it, potentially offer low prices, but call in more brands so that there's a bit of competition introduced and everyone strives to become a better version of themselves, ultimately catering customers in a particular good and better manner. Now, the idea, this was one more idea about this place, that most of the apartments are bought in by people who work, who have functional Airbnb profiles. So when we talk about that, those Airbnb owners, obviously they harbor, they give, obviously offer their place for staycation to visitors. That is one of the reasons this place is getting good foot traffic. But it's not enough. It's nothing big. It's just a very small ecosystem. It is nothing in comparison to a shopping mall as of yet. So when it comes to all of this, the Airbnb traffic is not enough. Having said that, I would like to move on to my next point, which is the type of foot traffic, because you see there's a Pareto rule that is, that it resides within the situation, and it is that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. So we analyzed foot traffics. There were eight types of foot traffics. I would like to name them. There were destination shoppers, there were impulse shoppers, there were tourists, there were local regulars, there were errand runners, there were food traffic, event driven traffic, and then social visitors. Now, the biggest thing is that I've counted eight of these in front of you, and this mall doesn't cater half of it at least. So the food options are not there. The ones that are there, their performance has made sure that they would not come again. So we can kiss that foot traffic goodbye. And then there were destination shoppers. So there's a good big supermarket in that particular mall. Most of the foot traffic was because of that supermarket, the grocery store, which was one of the big reasons that that place, the shopping mall, was receiving foot traffic. And what happened was that the buyers would just come in the mall, they would go directly to the grocery store, and then that's it. They wouldn't go anywhere else in the mall. And just for the sake of it, they would just go and roam around on the ground floor, nothing more than that, or potentially first floor. They would not even go near the food court. Then there were impulse shoppers. So when it comes to impulse shoppers are people who just wander around and they just make impulse based purchase decisions. And when we analyze that this is not an impulse shopper space, because we were unable to identify people as impulse shoppers in that particular shopping mall. So impulse shoppers weren't there. Impulse shoppers would go to a place like Packages Mall, a place like Emporium, and the reason to that is that they need huge variety of products and services they would potentially buy, and their mind is constantly working, and they would just go and buy the product if they like. Then came tourists through Airbnbs. Your normal tourists won't come here, but if someone is staying in the Airbnb, they would come, they would visit, but obviously it's just a one-time thing. Local regulars were a huge traffic for them. Local regulars were potentially moms with small children who had promised them meals and gaming and activities for kids on the weekends. So this was something we analyzed mostly on Fridays and Saturdays. That moms had promised their children that when she would pick them up from school after a half day on Friday, then she would take them to this mall because a it has things that the kids need, which is potentially a normal market, and at the same time it offers convenience because it's near to their home. But that's it. That's is something that it's good that you've targeted it, but it's not enough. Then errand runners. Now, as I mentioned before, if there is a big market next to a mall and if there are errand runners, they would never go inside a mall to buy a product because there's lots of walk over there. They would just go and park in front of a shop and then they would buy that particular product. So if there wouldn't have been any kind of commercial area and this mall offered more variety, then errand runners would have been a good traffic as well. Then comes food traffic, and as I mentioned, there are not lots of food brands over there, so which is a big issue. And the ones that are there, they're not doing good job. So that's an issue. Event-driven traffic is, there are no events that take place over there. So that was a big reason that that traffic wasn't present over there. A small concert, field trip collaboration, things like that can boost your business. And at the same time, it all depends on the kind of business uh, you know, your existing tenants are doing. That matters a lot. And lastly, social visitors went there as well. So given this, I counted 8 foot traffics. Me and my team, we counted 8 foot traffics, and we analyzed that there are lots of things that need to change. The first thing was that pricing is a big issue, and apart from that, one of the big issue was that the kind of job the management wasn't doing it good, but they weren't even serious. They're a subsidiary of a very big company, so they weren't bothered because the company is they can bear the expense of this place. At the same time, they wanted results as well. So we've given them a formal proposal as well. We charged them a lot for this because it took us 1 month to execute all of this, and it was a big thing because it required lots of field work, lots of interviews, lots of focus groups, and we didn't do service because they would have been they would have been proven not effective in this particular case. So I believe that running a shopping mall is not an easy job. I just jot down points because this was something that required lots of detail, and I didn't want to get off the topic when talking to you guys. So if you're running a shopping mall, you can always contact us. We have proposed them the solution for this, and we have helped them generate 11 revenue streams. We have proposed in that, and all they have to do is just execute it. They can ask us to execute it for them, or they can execute it themselves. There's a limit to what we can execute because we're not the sort of a firm that does everything. But this was most of the execution would have, it required special teams, and these were the things that they should have done all by themselves. So we also talked about collaborations. We also talked about attracting investors, and there was a little bit of revamp that place needed. So the foot traffic concept was very important, and when if you're working in a shopping mall, if you own a shopping mall, the concept of foot traffic is very important because these are the kinds of people that you need to come again and again and again to your shopping mall because in terms of fashion, there's something that came in my mind. I thought that I should share with you. When we talked about fashion and shopping to the people in the focus group and the ones we conducted interview from, they were like that this mall is not their go-to place to buy products. So they just share for the sake of it. One restaurant on the ground floor, it's selling continental breakfast. They're doing brilliant job. It has their own set of clientele. The clients are recurring, but then again, it's for the shop and not for the mall. So that's one thing. So you see, some business are able to create their own traffic, no matter what the circumstances are, and some of them are unable to create traffic for themselves, no matter how good they are. This is how businesses work. We have expertise in business strategy, branding and marketing strategy, and research, and lots of other aspects as well. So we know how these kinds of things work. So I think I've talked about everything that I wanted to in the Client Diaries episode about a shopping mall in Lahore, Pakistan. And I hope that I received more queries from you. There were more queries while I was away, and I'll be answering every single one of them in the coming days. Stay tuned for that as well. Stay tuned for the next episode of Client Diaries. Thank you very much, and grow global with Aargard.